Hello students, myself Popere KS, Assistant Professor Botany of Raj Shikshan Sanstha's RBNB College, Sri Rampur. Okay, now in today's lecture, we will see the three different topics of TYBSc Cell and Molecular Biology. Now, the first topic is Chargaff's law. Okay, so first topic is Chargaff's law. Okay, it is also known as equivalence rule. Okay, and this equivalence rule or the Chargaff's law is given by Erwin Chargaff in 1943. Okay, now about the law. Now what this Erwin Chargaff has done, this scientist, he has collected or he has isolated DNA from different organism. Okay, then what he has done, firstly he has isolated the different DNA samples, okay, from the different organism. Now next step what he has do, he has then purified that DNA sample, okay, and then later on he then analyzed the different DNA samples. Okay, now what he has found that in different DNA samples he had found the different ratios of the nucleotide bases or the nitrogenous bases of a DNA. Okay, so now the first rule which was given by Chargaff. Okay, so first is that the number of guanine unit, okay, that is the number of adenine in a DNA is equal to the number of thymine unit in a DNA. Okay, now now same like this, the number of guanine in a DNA is equal to the number of cytosine units in the DNA. Okay, so this was the first rule which was given by Chargaff. Okay, now the second rule. Okay, what does the second rule say? That the different organism, okay, or the DNA, the samples from the different DNA of the different organism, they are different in composition. Means the DNA composition, it differs from one species to another species. Now this was the two rules which was given by Chargaff. Okay, and on this basis now further three things were concluded. That first, the ratio of A to T, okay, A to T is equal to 1, and similarly the ratio of G to C is also equals to, that is G to C is equals to 1. Okay, so the ratio of A to T is 1 and the ratio of G to C is also 1. Okay, now second is that the number of purines. Okay, purine is A plus G. These are purines. Okay, the sum of purines, that is A plus G, is equals to sum of pyrimidines, that is T plus C. Okay, so the ratio of purine is equal to ratio of the sum of purines is equal to sum of pyrimidines. Okay, now third is that the percentage of A plus T is not equals to the percentage of G plus C. Okay, so these were the three things which were concluded by the Chargaff rule. Okay, so now the things, okay, that is the different compositions of the nucleotide in the DNA. Okay, now this rules or the Chargaff's rule, it is applied only to the double strand DNA. Okay, that is the double stranded DNA. Okay, which means the DNA which is double stranded. But this is not exception. This is one exception is the rule is to that it does not applies to single stranded DNA and RNA. Okay, so this rules does not applies to single stranded DNA and RNA. So this is about the Chargaff's law or Chargaff's rule. Now we will move to next, that is Franklin and Wilkins experiment of DNA. Okay, next is Franklin and Wilkins experiment on DNA. Okay, so that is Franklin and Wilkins experiment on DNA. Okay, now firstly to this experiment we will see a name of a scientist, that is Archbury. Okay, in 1938. Okay, now what this scientist has done, okay, he was the first scientist who has got ideas or who had think about that the DNA is three-dimensional structures of a DNA. Okay, so he was the first who had think about the three-dimensional structures of DNA. Okay, so later on after this scientist, that is Archbury, okay, after the scientist, now later on Franklin has and Wilkins has continued the work of Archbury. Okay, so now what happened, the experiment of Franklin. Okay, now what he has done, okay, Franklin, he has carried out a X-ray diffraction analysis of DNA. What he has done? He has done X-ray diffraction analysis of DNA. Okay, so this was the experiment which was carried by Franklin. Okay, he has used the X-ray diffraction analysis of DNA. Now about the experiment, what he has done. Okay, so firstly he has used a sample, that is the DNA sample. Okay, and to this X-ray, a beam of light is passed. Okay, now what will happen, okay, so now what had happened, this Franklin, he has done X-ray diffraction analysis of DNA. Okay, now in the experiment what is done, okay, one particle is taken, okay, and it is bombarded with X-ray beams. Okay, now X-ray beams are allowed to pass over this is the sample. Okay, it is containing DNA. Okay, now this after, so a sample is bombarded with a beam of X-rays. Now what will happen? Now the beams, a single beam, when it encounters a atom, what will happen? The rays got diffracted back, or their path is bent. Okay, after it has occupied, means its beam occupied a atom, they encounters a atom, what will happen? They got they bended, or they got diffracted back. Okay, and it developed a pattern on the photographic film. Okay, now how was the pattern? The pattern was like, suppose if we throw, or suppose the pattern was like the ripples which is created when a stone or a rock is thrown on a plain surface of water. Suppose a stone is thrown on a calm water, what will happen? The ripples will create. Ripples means wave-like structures will create. The similar pattern was observed on the photographic film. Okay, now what happened? These patterns, now further the analysis was done, and the 3D structure of DNA was prepared. Okay, so now this 3D structures, okay, is of the DNA is prepared. Now it shows that the DNA is helical in structures. Okay, and now he used DNA is in the form of a fiber. Okay, now later on what happened? After this, the next scientist, that is Willigen, what he has do, now after this the Willigen carry forward his work, and what he was the first who precisely, or who uniformly, who has got, or who was able to produce a uniformly oriented DNA fiber. Okay, so what this Willigen has do, he was the first who has able to produce what a uniformly oriented DNA fiber. Okay, so he was the first scientist. So from this, the experiment which was or the work from the work of Franklin and Willigen, from their work, lastly it was concluded that the DNA is a helical structure. Okay, and after that this is that the DNA is a helical structure. It is double standard and it is a helical structure. Okay, and now what? The one helix turn. Okay, this one helix turn, it is of 34 angstrom. Okay, and the nitrogenous bases which are present within one helix turn, it consists of 10 nitrogenous bases. Okay, 10 pairs of nitrogenous bases are present in the helix. And one more term, that is the difference between this nitrogenous bases is 3.4 angstrom. Okay, and the distance of a one helix turn is 34 angstrom. Okay, so this was the work which was done by Willigen and Franklin. Okay, now next we will move to the next scientist, or the scientist Watson and Crick, who has given the double helical structure of DNA. Okay, so this structure which was given by the scientists Watson and Crick, they are mostly studied in molecular biology, or that structure is mostly used for the molecular studies. Okay, now that is Watson and Crick model of DNA. Okay, so firstly we will see the structure of the DNA. Okay, so it is a double helical structure. Okay, so these are the double helical structure of DNA. Okay, now in this Watson and Crick model of DNA, what are the things they have told? Okay, what have they also, now they have combined the work of all the scientists of the Franklin, then Chargaff, okay, Wilkins, and they have proposed this model of DNA. Okay, in that, now first point is the DNA is a double helical structure. It was already proved by the Franklin. Okay, now first is that it consists of two polynucleotide chain. Okay, this consists of a two polynucleotide chain. Okay, and they are wrapped around each other in a helical fashion. Okay, now this two polynucleotide chain, they are wrapped around each other in an helical fashion. Okay, so this was the first point. Now the next point is, the second point is that this in this two polynucleotide chain, there is in between nitrogenous bases are there. Okay, this inside there are nitrogenous bases. Okay, and there are at the outer region here, at this outer region, this backbone, these are made up of that phosphate group. Okay, so inside there is nitrogenous bases and this backbone is made up of sugar and phosphate. Okay, so this is the second point. Now third point is that this two polynucleotide chain, they are held together by a hydrogen bond. Okay, so in between this nitrogen or this two chains, they are held together by a hydrogen bond. Okay, and next is that this hydrogen bond, they are in such a fashion that the two means it is between the two specific pair of nucleotide. Okay, like suppose purine, that is A and G. Okay, and it will pair with pyrimidine. Okay, that is A will pair with T and G will pair with C. Okay, but the pairing or the hydrogen bond between them is like A will pair with T, it has presence of two double bond, and G, it will pair with C, it has presence of three double bond. Okay, so likewise if we see here, what is there? Suppose here A is there, now it will pair with T. Okay, like this. Now here G is there, it will pair with C. Okay, now further A, G. Suppose T is there and C is there. Now how it will take place? Now T will pair with A and C will pair with G. Okay, so the nitrogenous bases are arranged like this in the double helix. Okay, and now the bonding, between A and T there is a double bond, between G and C there is a triple bond. Okay, so this is how the hydrogen bond between them is present. Okay, now the next point, the polynucleotide chain. Okay, this chain, they are complementary to each other. Okay, what is mean by complementary? Complementary means, suppose we know the sequence of one strand, we can detect or we can find out the sequence which is present in the other strand. Okay, likewise suppose here is A, T, C, G. Okay, so likewise this is in the one strand, and next strand it will be A, T, C, C, G and G, C. So this will be the next strand. If we know the one strand, we can find out it in the next strand or the other strand. They are complementary. Because of this complementary nature, we can find out the sequence which is present in the other strand. Okay, now next is that they have they have the direction of the sequence or the stand are different, or they are anti-parallel. The stands are anti-parallel. Like suppose if this stand, it has in direction 5 prime to 3 prime. Okay, so in next stand it will be in an opposite or in a different, it has a different polarity. It will be in a 3 prime to 5 prime. Okay, so this one stand, it is 5 prime to 3 prime. Those next stand, it will be opposite polarity, that is of it will be in opposite direction, that is 3 to 5 prime. Okay, so this is about the directions of the two stand. Okay, after that, now next point is polynucleotide sequence. Okay, this is the, suppose this is the helix. Now the distance between this helix or this is 20 angstrom. Okay, and the distance between the two nucleotide, I have already tell this is 3.4 angstrom. Okay, and the turn of one helix this is equal to 34 angstrom. Okay, and what is there? Okay, and next point is there are minor and major groove. Okay, minor groove means where the groove is, minor means it is shallow and narrow. Okay, shallow and narrow groove, it is called as narrow or minor groove, and the groove which is bigger, okay, that is deep and wide, it is called as major groove. So there is presence of major and minor groove. Okay, groove means this projections. Okay, one is minor and one is the major. Okay, so major it will be wide. Okay, and minor it will be shallow, or we can say narrow, and wide one is deeper, it will deep into inside. Okay, because of this groove, what will happen, the different protein can interact with the DNA molecules at the different, or the different protein interact with the DNA at this grooves. Okay, so there are minor and major groove. Okay, thank you.